Right, so as we explained earlier, when you build a PCB, it involves many different layers stacked on top of each other. And every single piece of design capture software has a different way of working internally to allow you to create a PCB. And then you'll save your file, typically as a project file somewhere. However, when we want to export that information to a fab, to a fabrication plant, they have to receive that information in a standard file format that their machines can understand, and then they can pass through their factory so the entire process is automated. Now, if we look at this lovely little circuit that John's created here, okay, we have a couple of resistors, a couple of terminals here, and we can see on our design toolbox on the left hand side of the screen that we have all our layers that are visible. So we can see that we have our copper top and our copper bottom, which is where we draw our traces. We have a keep in and keep out layer, which what that is that allows you to control how ground faults and things happen. You have silk screens, a board outline which shows you the shape of the board. Everything is available in this design toolbox. So when we've designed this board, what will happen is we will do an export in a standard file format known as Gerber files, which breaks down every single one of those layers into a separate file. And inside that separate file has got a very common and understandable format so that other machines and computer software can be able to import it exactly how you intended to do it, because it's a CAD file really. So what we're going to end up here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 6 separate files, probably more, right, each describing its own layer. And then on top of that, we need to know where our holes are going to be drilled, so we're also going to export a drill file. So to go through this process, very simple. We've designed our PCB, we're happy with how it looks, we've done all our validation checks, now we want to send it to the fab plant. So what we'll do is we'll go File and we'll go Export. And then as you can see here, in the scheme, by default, we're going to do a fabrication export. Interestingly, and this has always been the case and I don't know why, when you capture a schematic you tend to work in millimeters. And when you design a PCB it all goes into imperial. So fab plants tend to like to work in imperial, so it's just the way it is. Now what we've got up here, the options, which can be left for default, I really suggest that you don't mess with these and I'll explain why. But we just leave the defaults. What we're saying is we want this standard of Gerber file and we want to include our NC drill file. And our NC drill file is where our holes get placed. Here's your first warning. If you design a through-hole board and you do not include an NC drill file, you will get your board back and it will look beautiful, but there will be no holes in it.
Just like the gentleman 2 years ago.
It's happened many times. You will not be able to put your components through. So then you think, I'll drill the holes myself. Sounds easy, actually very difficult. Yeah, so that's something you have to do. If you're designing a through-hole board, you have to include a drill file. Another thing that I just want to point out right now is on here, what you've got are options like reflection and negative image. Be very careful if you decide that you think that you can change these options, because what will happen is it will flip your PCB to how you see it, and it will do a mirror image of it. So if you've done something like, if you put an 8-pin chip and an 8-pin IC down, and it comes back, we all know that the top left-hand pin, pin 1, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or if it comes back and it's flipped, it will flip those pins. So you'll have 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you will end up with lots of little bits of wire to try and get your circuit working. Yeah? Disaster. So really is be 100% sure that these are not messed with. So what it's saying here is by default it's going to include my copper layers. It's also going to send this information, the silk screen top, the silk screen bottom. If I don't send them, I'm going to get no ident printed on my board. So it's going to be a bare board. Solder mask top and solder mask bottom. If I don't include them, all the copper is going to be exposed. And so eventually it will all oxidize and it'll be a horrible board. Yeah? So we need to make sure that these things are all exported. And also, if you want to not only produce your board, but also have the components placed on it, then you need to submit to the manufacturer a paste mask, potentially a glue mask as well, so that they know where they have to put the solder paste on the board in an automated process. So we leave everything as default. We're happy with our Gerber file, happy with our NCGL file, and now I'm going to export. So I press my export. This comes along. Down here you can see it's exported everything. And then if I click on any one of these, I should load up where it saved those files.
Right.
So as you can see now, I've got a separate file for every single one of those layers. Yeah? What I'll do now is I'll select all them and I'll zip them all up into one compressed file like that. And that file is what I'm going to send to my manufacturer.